Hello guys, evening. Welcome to this live. Be around for about 30 minutes tonight. Ask your questions. I will do my best to answer them. If you're watching on Instagram, sorry I forgot to put a notification up to tell you this was happening, so I'm sure there might be less of you around today, but that's fine. I will still pay attention to you in the same way as I do over on YouTube, which is the big camera over here. And obviously there's been a lot that's been going on over the last 5-6 days. Who thought things could be getting any crazier? And they've got absolutely, just absolutely bonkers really when it comes to so much. The mini budget, interest rate announcements, all these mortgage deals being pulled, the dollar just value falling, pound falling against that massively. So I can talk about those things, but talk about other things as well. Just put the comments, questions in the comments, and I will try and get through to them. The earlier you ask a question, the better chance you've got of me answering it this evening. And already got a few things coming through. Rob says, hello, evening Andy. Hi Rob, good to see you. And Celestial Alexia, regular here, nice to see you. Says, hi Andy, do you think it's worth sticking with Virgin M plus Link Saver at 1.71% in the hope they'll increase the rate soon, or is it time to remove my cash to an easy access with a higher rate? Thank you. So with the interest rate announcement, I probably would do a savings video on YouTube, probably for Sunday, looking at where the best accounts are right now, see how things move over the next few days throughout the week as well. But we obviously saw that large increase of 0.5 percentage points. So the base rate, which was last Thursday, is now 2.25%. 0.5 is quite a large increase. And normally the savings accounts, they don't pass on the full amount straight away. They pass on bits of it and maybe a bit delayed. But we've already seen Yorkshire Building Society offer an account offering 2.5% on the first £5,000 you save in there, and then 2% after that. So that makes it probably right now the best buy, the best place for your money. I guess the question here from Celestial Alexia is, well, do I jump ship from Virgin now to this account paying 2.5%? Because what if Virgin react? And it's not just if Virgin react. What if other places react as well? We will see some movement. We've got to see some movement from places. What I would say in these situations is have a look at how much money you've got saved and do a quick sort of calculation on how much that's going to get you, not over a year, but over the next month. To get that, say you've got £1,000, you put in the increase, you work out that APR, annual percentage, average annual, oh God, sorry, I'm a bit fuzzy this evening. But work it out over a year and divide it by 12. That'll give you a rough idea. It doesn't take into account compound interest, so it's not quite right, but that'll give you a rough idea of what you're going to get over the next month. If we're talking a quid or pennies, is it worth it? If we're talking about 50 quid, if you've got a lot of money in there and their interest rate is different enough between what you're paying right now and the new one, then yeah, absolutely go for it. And also, I think assess here your appetite for how willing you are to keep moving savings accounts. You can always keep chasing that next best rate that comes along. Sometimes it'll be worth it, sometimes it won't. I would say when it comes to Virgin, I've got no idea. You'd imagine Virgin and Chase would want to still be, all the money they've put into these, being the market leading account over the last sort of year, 2 years, they'd want to still be up there, but sometimes it's out of their hands. Sometimes they can't compete with other places that try and sort of do a similar thing. So 2.5% to me on the £5,000, 2% over, that seems like a really good account. We're sure by the end of this week, by early next week, there may be ones offering similar or even better rates. Yeah, there's no firm answer to it, but that I think is the best way to think about it. Let me just check I've not rolled past anything here on Instagram. It's not so easy to read the comments here, but I will make sure I check them, guys, if you've got them. So I hope that one helped. Nadine says hello. MX9000 says, any thoughts on investing with Chip? Now, if you're a regular viewer, you know I don't talk about investing. That's not my kind of speciality. I talk about the other sides of personal finance. What I would say with any kind of investing platform is just to have a look at the fees that come into play. There are different kind of systems that will work. Sometimes it's a flat fee, no matter how much you've got to invest. Sometimes it's a percentage. And that can make a big, big difference depending on how much money you have. Sometimes a flat fee is better for you. Sometimes a percentage is better for you. Chip has obviously changed massively. What it used to be a savings app, now they're really pushing savings. I get these emails coming through about investing in wine and all these random stuff right now. I would avoid any of those kind of things. I would be looking, if I was to invest with anyone, it is around those sort of index funds. And also, if I think, remember here, it's about the longer term, particularly the uncertainty we have right now with everything, particularly in the markets. You're not putting money in investing where you're going to want to use it in the next, 5 years. That's the kind of way investing rule of thumb is, want longer than 5 years. So that is absolutely something to bear in mind with any investing platform. Joshua says, evening. MX also says about investing with Plum, same principles there, as I was saying with Chip. Matthew says, hi Andy, hello. My user my user ID is Alfie. Right, sorry, it's little print on the phone. I can't always read the usernames. Really good question here. Premium bonds are now at 2.2%. Are they any good now? Again, I will be doing a whole article and probably a video on this. I might combine it with a savings video on Sunday. But the headline here is what you need to remember with premium bonds is 2.2% is a prize rate, not an interest rate. You are not guaranteed to get 2.2%. So although that sounds fantastic when compared to the other easy access savings accounts, you are not guaranteed to get it. And although it will vary depending on the prize rate, I would say, okay, I haven't seen proper calculations on this because the change only happened today, but I would be thinking you're looking around at least 8 grand where you're going to be getting maybe a thing which might be closer to sort of the high 1%. To get the 2.2%, you probably need the full 50k in there, and there's no guarantee of that at all. So I will do a full video on this. This is for the draw that starts in October. So if you do want to take advantage of this new one, you need to get the money in by the end of this month, which doesn't give you much time at all. Hannah says, hey Andy, do you think the interest rate will return to normal by May 2024? We are due a mortgage fix by then. I wish I knew, Hannah. It's really impossible to say right now. Things are accelerating all the time. You look at the predictions, they're getting higher and higher every time. Even last Thursday, the Bank of England predicted 4.8. Well, they didn't predict it. They said the markets were predicting potentially interest rates could get to 4.8% next summer. After the mini statement at the weekend, after the massive drop in the pound against the dollar as a result of that mini statement, now they're talking about could it go to 6%? And who knows, the madness that we've had today around mortgage deals being pulled as well by hundreds and hundreds of mortgage providers. Who knows what impact that will have on interest rates as well. It's certainly going to be very difficult for people to get mortgages at low rates. If you're due for 2 years or nearly 2 years until you can fix, there's nothing you can do right now about it. So I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. See where things take you, because if you're already in a fix, the cost to get out of that in such a short space of time, based on what's literally at this moment, the number of mortgages available and the rates they're offering, you can't do anything about it. So maybe just don't worry about it right now. Now, if your fix is ending in 7 months, 6 months, anytime much sooner, then obviously that's going to be much more problematic for people. Again, I wouldn't do anything right now. Talk to a mortgage broker, see what they say, but there's so much uncertainty over the coming days and weeks. Maybe just wait and see if there is a response from the Bank of England, if there is a response from the government and the Treasury to try and sort of fix this mess that's been created over the last few days. It's not a great time for people who are due to get a mortgage or remortgage. That is absolutely the case. Steve says, what do you think of the NatWest Black Reward credit card? Is it worth it? I'm not familiar with the Black Reward credit card. I know their reward credit card. Generally, don't think it's not a bad one, but I don't think it's worth getting it. The normal reward card, you will get 1% back at supermarkets and 0.25% everywhere else. But all the supermarkets will take Chase, which gives you 1% for 12 months. That is a debit card, obviously not a credit card. And they'll also take American Express. And the American Express Nectar credit card will give you the equivalent of 1% back. Plus, you'll also get those higher rates, 1% with Chase or the Amex Nectar, at all the other retailers. So I don't see the point in that NatWest credit card, cashback credit card at all, the reward one. Really, I don't know the black one, if there's a difference there with that one. Black makes it sound like maybe it's one of their more premium ones, maybe have some extra things. Certainly not one that most consumers it's going to be relevant for. Let's see some things pop through here on Insta from Teeny Adventures. Hello there. Overpaying mortgage rather than my savings. My provider doesn't automatically reduce my term. Still worth it. So this is really interesting when you talk about overpaying your mortgage. You don't want to reduce your term. You're overpaying the mortgage. You're reducing the balance, so you pay it off earlier. The term, you want that flexibility, because if your situation changes. And for some reason you want to see if they'll help you out by reducing your payments, or you can actually sometimes go to them and say, look, I've got this much as my equity I put into my mortgage, I've got this amount left, I want to actually reduce my payments to still for that full extent of the term. That gives you flexibility if the situation changes, like it is right now, so much uncertainty. Who knows where rates might be? You might have to keep that length of term at a higher rate when you remortgage. Who knows? So I wouldn't worry about, you don't want to reduce the term, you just want to overpay as much as you can. Obviously, if you are overpaying your mortgage, you do want to be careful here that you're allowed to. Not all mortgages will let you do this, and some of them will have a cap, maybe 10% annually of the original mortgage or 10% of what you've got left. So just do check those terms and conditions when you're there, and also be aware of any early repayment charges that might come along. If you do clear your balance early before the whole mortgage term is finished, that's more likely to be if you're near the end of that entire mortgage, or maybe you've got a tracker or a really long fix. What you might want to do there as you approach the end of that term is then similar to what I said just now, reduce that monthly payments so you aren't overpaying early. So let's say you're paying £500 now, and you maybe could reduce it to £250 for those last few years, just to make sure that you are finishing at the time the mortgage is due to end, so you aren't hit with those early repayment charges. What else we've got going on? Christopher says the Bank of England put the rate up today. Did they do? I don't think they did. Have I missed something completely here? I don't think they have. I think they're waiting until November. They're saying they may well make a change, possibly. But the Bank of England base rate happened on Thursday. There was speculation that they would respond. I mean, you panicked me here that I've missed something in the last sort of hour or so. I've been faffing around setting up my camera. Let me see if I can find this out. I'm pretty sure they haven't. That would have happened literally just now. But while we look at that, I'll see what else I've got. So, Kimberly says, any advice for newlyweds? Is it better to have separate bank and savings accounts or joint ones? So what I would suggest here is to have a mix of things, Kimberly, because there are some real benefits of having joint accounts. If you have shared expenses, whether you're married or not married, if you're paying the bills together, you're putting some money in for the rent, the mortgage, all these things, maybe even for just shared expenses like supermarket and all that, a joint account is a great way to do that. You put some money into there, and that's the funds that pay for those things. I generally recommend the Santander 123 Lite account for those core expenses. So your council tax, energy, broadband, TV, if you're paying for pay TV, though I do think most people should axe Sky and Virgin because you're overpaying for that, mobile phone, because you'll get cash back on that. I did a recent video talking about how you can get that cash back, so do check that out. But you can obviously put other things in there, you just won't get the cash back on it. However, I would absolutely also ensure you have your own bank account still and you have your own funds. There's a colloquial, an F-off fund, right? The idea here is, this isn't just about relationships, it can be about work, it can be about all sorts of things, but the importance of having your own money in a relationship. Because if something does go wrong, and congratulations, you're newlyweds, it's not gonna happen, things are gonna be perfect, but you never know what happens in life, and you wanna be able to have a situation where you have money where you can support yourself if you need to. If you did need to exit a relationship, if you did need to exit a job, whatever it might be, at short notice, you have money that is yours. You also have to be very careful with joint accounts and joint finances about if one person's good with money and the other one's not. And this is something that I've been guilty of as well, right? And this is accidentally controlling someone's finances. There are people who will deliberately control people's finances, and if you spot any of the kind of warning signs with friends and stuff, then, you know, do some research on that, see if you can help them out, see if something's going, because often that it goes linked arm in arm with other kind of sort of domestic abuse, not necessarily physical, but other kind of controlling behaviours. But the accidental things, the trap that I fell into, this is me, right? You guys watch me, you read my stuff, you know I love this stuff, I'm good at this stuff. My wife Becky, she's not so keen on a lot of doing these things. And I would obviously encourage her to do the things I encourage you to do. Sometimes she doesn't really want to. Sometimes it's just too much for her. She just wants a more simple life, an easier life when it comes to her finances. And we have had situations in the past where, not deliberately, but I've been sort of saying, she's bought something, say, oh, which card did you use? Because I'm keen to maximise the cash back. And it gets a little bit like she's felt that she had to kind of justify her purchase to me, which is not what we wanted at all. So we backtrack from that and keeping things separate. There's obviously things we do together. And I always try and encourage her to do some of these things to make a little bit more money from cash back or whatever it might be. But ultimately, yeah, that is her money to spend in as she wants. That's what she's most comfortable with. So if you, Kimberly, are the person who's really good with money, just be careful that you don't slip into that with your new husband or wife. Sorry, don't say which way that goes. And likewise for your partner as well, your spouse, make sure they don't do the same. We probably could talk about this for the whole thing, but that's the kind of the headlines on that. So Splot Cardiff says, do you think the rate increase will be passed on to savers, i.e. 1.6% for fixed savers? It's now 4.25 for a 2-year fix with Smart Save. So i.e. 6% for fixed savers. So this is a really interesting one around whether you should fix or not and how long you fix for. I certainly would be dubious about the 2-year fixes, the way things are looking right now. But you've got to sort of weigh it up in terms of how much you'll get before the rate goes up. So let's say you get 4.25% now, and let's say rates don't increase to 4% for a year. Let's say the easy access ones are around 3%. You're still getting more for a year, aren't you? You're getting 4.2% rather than 3%. Rule of thumb. Well, actually, the fact that 1 year fix is around 2.91, I think it is right now. Hard to say. But then the year after that, let's say the easy access of the 1 year fixes go past the 2 year fixes and they're much above it. Well, are they enough to mean that you are you've lost out by fixing for a longer term. Personally, I'm not a fan of 2-year fixes right now. 1-year fixes, even they can be a bit dubious. And 6-month fixes, well, actually 6-month fixes right now, they're not far off the easy access ones. So maybe it's better sticking with easy access. There is no rule here. You've got to be comfortable with the fact that you may be losing out in the long term, but you're achieving better rates right now. To the Lawyer Jans, what's the best invest app for beginners? I said I don't do investing content here, but there will be lots of great content out there. Oh, right, Delayed Day says, bloody hell, it's Andy Mania. You're on Channel 5 and on YouTube. Yeah, so I'm on Channel 5 right now as well. I forgot about that. This was filming a few weeks ago. It obviously got delayed because of the Queen's funeral, and it's on now. Obviously, don't tune off over right now. Watch it on catch up or sit record. I don't know how much I'm in it. I recorded some, like, I literally told them I had an hour of my time. That's the most I could give them where I live, and they actually ended up making me film at half an hour away from where I live. So I got there, did about 40 minutes of little sound bites, and it's lots of other tips. But yeah, that's good to know it is actually on. But again, don't watch it now, watch it later. Matt says, when will the property price drop? Who knows? I mean, again, this uncertainty all the time. So we had the stamp duty cut on Friday, which means for a lot of people, they're going to pay less stamp duty. But that, when we've seen it before, when we've had the stamp duty holidays in the past, that has accelerated the price movements upwards. But now we've got the situation where, as a result also of the tax cuts and the general kind of outlook from the government in the mini budget, and the pound, obviously again mentioned this again, the pound falling massively against dollar, that all these mortgage rates are being either hiked up or being pulled completely from the market. And that itself is going to slow things down. So it's impossible to say what's going to happen with prices. They're competing against each other in lots of ways, encouraging people to buy houses, but also encouraging people, well, making it harder for people to get a mortgage in the first place, because it's going to be much less affordable for you. So it's really, really hard to know what's going to be going on there with all these things. That's the problem. I wish, if I could tell you, that would be fantastic, and I'd love it if I could, but sadly this is one we're all going to have to kind of wait and see what happens. Miles says, premium bonds definitely appear as a better place to save now. Noticed an improvement in return over the last 2 months. 7 wins of £25 this month. Not bad at all. I know we've spoken before about premium bonds. Yeah, and the interesting thing here is, remember, the reason your prize rates have probably improved, your winnings improved over the last few months, is that back in, was it July? July, the prize rate increased to 1.4%. Previously, it was 1%. So obviously, if you had money in there, you are going to see, or would have seen an increase over the last few months. You will see an improvement happen in the next, from October draw onwards as well with that higher prize rate. The question is, how does it compare to other accounts? Andrew says, I have a dummy Monzo account. Is it worth switching to NatWest for the bonus and the digital regular saver? Also, is it worth moving 5k from my Virgin Money Saver to the new YBS 2.5% saver? Many thanks. Just the first one, first of all, moving your Monzo account to get the switching bonus from NatWest and their digital regular saver. This NatWest account right now, £175 you can get for switching to NatWest as long as you're eligible. You will not be eligible if you've had the money from RBS or NatWest before. I can't remember off the top of my head if there's a cut-off date. Obviously, head over to becleverwithyourcash.com, and the deal section I have got all the different switching offers in detail, my full analysis of how they work. So that's where you get all that information. But 175 quid is one of the better paying switching bonuses right now. If you've not had it before, that's fantastic. I should say you can also get it, you can alternatively get it at RBS. So either NatWest or RBS. You can't get it from both, but you can get it from one of those. They have a reward account. Again, it's the same account. One's branded RBS, one's branded NatWest. That one, as long as you have a couple of direct debits coming out of it, you will get, well, you have to pay a fee as well, but it works out that you make £36 profit over a year on top of that. So add that on, we're already 210 quid. And then the regular saver, paying 5.12%. You can put a maximum of 150 quid in every single month, but the interest only paid on the first £1,000. So this is basically you getting in 6.5 months, 7 months, you'll hit that £1,000 level, and then you'll be getting that 5.12% on the entire balance. It feels to me like a no-brainer. If you've got a dummy account, particularly if you're not using Monzo, switch it across. You do have to bear in mind here, though, that it might be a while before you can go back to Monzo if you do ever want to use them again. They might have a bit of a few month break there before they let you come back. Obviously, Andrew, you're a regular viewer, you'll know this. If you don't already, I've got a whole video and article looking at dummy accounts. It's basically accounts you set up for the purpose of switching. There are other ways you can set up dummy accounts if you do want to keep hold of ones you already have. So Kleber says, hi Andy, how are you feeling about the UK economy in the next year? A bad recession ahead. So I'm not an economist. Okay, I deal with household personal finance, but I do read all this stuff as well. And obviously in this world, And it doesn't look great, does it? The outlook is really pretty gloomy. It was gloomy already, and over the last few days, it's got even gloomier. You never know, because it seems to have got so absolutely awful right now, and the predictions are getting even worse, that maybe there will be some other actions that take place. Who knows what could happen? I mean, I don't think this would happen, but there was speculation that some Tory backbenchers were already considering a vote of no confidence in Truss and getting rid of her and putting someone else in, and maybe they would do something different that would be better. But then it could be worse again. It's impossible to know. But yes, certainly things are not looking particularly positive right now, are they? And with the increased costs, yeah. I'm sorry if you guys feel the same. But again, we just need to kind of focus on your own personal finances right now. Get yourself in a position where hopefully the increased cost that you're facing, you can manage them. That you're not going to be in a position where you don't have the cash, and that may mean tightening belts. It might mean cutting back in places to free up cash for those things so you can get through this, you can survive. It might mean cutting back on holidays. It might mean cutting back on some sort of treats. Either completely or doing them at a kind of reduced level or a more, everyone's budget's different. Some people still have lots of money, and maybe you've just had a massive tax, not you, but maybe you've just had a massive tax cut from the government in April. Maybe you're going to have loads more money swimming around. But for most of us, it is going to be a period where things are going to be even more difficult than we thought they were going to be, I would think. Let me just quickly check over here any new ones we've got going on. David says, hi Andy, me and my partner, we're planning on buying our first home and applying for a mortgage. With interest rates skyrocketing, should we hold off due to the volatility or get in before rates go higher? So reading what's happening today, it looks, I mean, like more than 300 different mortgage deals have been pulled by different providers completely. And the ones that are around, there are going to be very, very high rates. I would talk to a mortgage broker, maybe someone in that market who has a better idea of what's going on, what's available right now. But it depends how far you're in that process as well, David. So if you're still looking around, you haven't applied for a mortgage yet, maybe it is a situation case of just wait and see for a little bit, get a couple of weeks for the dust to settle, see where things lie, and then start maybe that process. But it will be more expensive. These rates right now, it will affect your affordability checks that go on. So you might before previously been able to afford a house that cost X amount because that's how much the multiples of your salary would have gone to, and they would stress test that a little bit. They've relaxed that a lot, but even so, with mortgage rates now potentially 5% versus 1%, where they would have been maybe 6 months or a year ago, that is a lot more expensive every single month, which means as a multiple, you'll be able to afford less of that overall property. So yeah, it doesn't feel like a good time to buy right now, but let's give it a couple of weeks. Let's see what happens. But yeah, it's not going to be a great timing for you. H says, hi, how should I consolidate my debt of £5,000? My credit isn't great, and I've had a look around, and the best balance transfer card I can get is 0% for 9 months and 29.3% APR. However, a fixed loan has £800 interest. Okay, if you can get a balance transfer credit card, a 0% credit card for 9 months, I don't say how much you can transfer over. You might not be able to transfer all of it over. But if you can get some of it at 0%, that's still a win. And potentially once you've got that one, if you do another kind of, sounds like you've done a check, an eligibility check on a comparison site with some options, you might be eligible for another card, 0% after that, which you can transfer some of the other balance over to. Now, 0% for 9 months, 5K, that's what, £600 a month. If you could put the whole thing over there, you need to pay off. You probably don't have that. I would have thought, particularly with costs being higher elsewhere, but you can put as much as you possibly can on there to clear it, get rid of it as quickly as you can. That is going to be a bonus. What you've got to think about then though is when that card ends, will you be able to get another 0% deal? Because you've got 29.3% APR. That's very expensive. So alternatively, it might be worth looking to see if you can get not necessarily a 0% balance transfer deal, but maybe one which is at a lower APR, maybe one that's ideally under 10% or something for the rest of it. So you get some at 9%, 0% for 9 months, some of it just in a longer term one, but at a lower rate. At least you've got that. If you have other savings, obviously use those savings to clear the debt. Don't have them sitting around. Use them for the debt to get rid of them. If you're worried about how this impacts other increased costs elsewhere, then I absolutely would be talking to someone at like a debt charity. And I've just realised that my battery's about to go. So give me 1 second, guys. Let me try plug it in, and I will be back with you. Sorry about that. Are we working? Yes, we're plugged in. We have power. Oh, that would have been bad. I know we've only got sort of 6 minutes left, but I would not want it to cut out on us. Paul H says, hi Andy, is it best to close down any inactive current accounts and unused credit cards to help my credit rating? I won't go into detail on this because I have spoken about it in previous lives quite often. But fundamentally, when you close a current account, what the impact that would have on your credit score, your credit report, is how long you've had that for. So longevity, the age of that account is what goes into play. And also wouldn't close an inactive current account. I would keep it around for potential switching deals in the future. If there's one right now, fantastic. If there aren't any you're eligible for now, wait and see, maybe they'll come along. But keeping it open won't do you any damage. Credit cards is a different story because there is no right or wrong answer. Sometimes closing your credit card will boost your credit score because other lenders will see that you've got less access. If you had more, they would worry about how much credit you had access to. So if you reduce that down, they'd be like, okay, great. If we lend to them, it's not going to be potential for them to borrow loads and loads of money all at once. But alternatively, what also can happen is if by closing a credit card, you reduce your credit utilization ratio. This is how much of your credit cards you're using against the old total credit limit. And the higher that is, the more worried lenders potentially can be about the amount of money you are borrowing. And this, even if you're responsibly using your credit cards and paying them off in full every month for things like cashback and rewards or Section 75 protection. So it goes both ways. So have a look at your credit utilization ratio on your credit reports. Have a look at your kind of total credit that's available to you. There's no right or wrong answer, but maybe make an assessment there on what the risk could be for you. But also bear in mind, how is your score right now? If it's pretty decent, it don't necessarily change anything at all. No need to worry about it too much. Nadine says, I've opened a credit card last June. Is it too early to open a bank account? I was thinking of opening a Starling account. So Nadine, right, when you open up any kind of credit account, there is a check on your credit report. You can open multiple things in a month. I've done it in the past where I've opened multiple accounts, even credit cards, and in mobile phone contracts or a direct debit on an energy bill, all in the space of a couple of months. But my credit score is strong and I didn't have any massive thing important coming along in the future. So I was happy to have that short-term hit to my score. If you have something big on the horizon, a 0% balance transfer credit card, for example, or a mortgage, as we discussed, that's a bit sort of up and down right now, then you have to, it's probably better to wait and give maybe 6 months, unless there's something really essential to apply for, maybe give it a break. Having said all of that, there is no hard credit check on opening up a Starling account unless you choose to apply for an overdraft. So long as you're not doing that, you can open up a Starling account, no problem at all. It won't impact your credit report in any way. So let's check any messages going on here. Saidi says, hi Andy, is it cheaper to use electricity or gas to heat the house? Do you know what? I don't know the answer to that one because it will depend on so many things. The size of the house, the type of heater you're using. One of the things that has been sort of spoken about quite a lot in the energy crisis are things like electric blankets. And they are obviously just heating you as an individual rather than heating the entire room. That will be cheaper than heating a big room with gas or electricity. I'm sure there are lots of content out there, something maybe to look into for future content, but certainly it's trying to reduce your heating of a house if you can. So if you're not using rooms, have the radiators off there or very, very low. Or again, if you're using a fan heater or whatever it is, electric heater, not have it running all night and stuff, because obviously that will really rack things up. And also John Vieira says, is it possible to get a joint account or for utilities if you live with siblings? Yeah, joint accounts you can open up with anyone. I've had it before when I was in house shares with friends. We had joint accounts for the bills, so you absolutely can do that. You have to bear in mind here, obviously, that when you have a joint account, you are financially linked. So if your siblings or your friends, whoever it has a particularly poor credit report, potentially there's things like county court judgments against them or massive debts, that can impact you when you're applying for stuff as well elsewhere. So just find out what the situation is there. Ask to look, sit down together, look at each other's credit reports. You do it for free. I've got a whole video and an article taking you through the three ways to do that for the 3 different reports. So it's worth having a think about that one as well. How are we doing for time here? Got only a couple of minutes, and how many have we got? Right, let's see. Quickly have a look here. Splot says, concerned about the tax I may have to pay on savings over the personal savings allowance. How will HMRC take my tax? Done a whole video looking at the personal savings allowance and tax on savings, so do check that one out. If you do go over the PSA, you generally have to report this in your self-assessment. That's how they're going to do that. Stefan, any thoughts on Oxbury Bank? They're offering some pretty decent rates right now. I think they're the ones with the 3.91% 1 year fix. Off the top of my head, I think that's correct. Again, there are so many of these savings providers out there. It's impossible to know if they are better or worse than any others. Fundamentally, what you're looking for is how easy is it for you to access your cash? Is it just online banking? Is it an app? Are there branches you can go to? When you consider all these things, often it's much of muchness, but do have a look, see if there are reviews online. Do find that people, when they leave reviews, that often people who've had a bad experience with places, so you don't always see that the majority of people actually are fine, but it's worth having a look at that. The important thing to think about with any kind of savings account, of course, is it protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme? You'll see that FSCS logo on their website. If you want to double check that is the case, you can obviously do that as well. On the financial FCA website. I would say the best savings accounts, if you want to find the highest rates ones, becleveryourcash.com savings.com/savings. That is where I list the best buys. I update it every single day with what's been changing over in the different markets. And the ones that I put in there are all going to be financially FSCS protected. So that's a good thing to be aware of with that. Oh, blimey, we're at 1:30. How many we've got left? There's loads of questions left. We've got through this. It's so many extra questions that come through. Right, guys, so I'm not going to have a chance to get through these. What I would say is head over to the Facebook group, becleverwithyourcash.com/community is a short URL that will take you through to Facebook. Over there, you can ask these questions. Please do go over there and ask these questions. I will try and have a look at them there. If not, other people in the community. It's like 2,400 of us now, which is absolutely fantastic. So many, I'm sure many of you are there already. That is a great place to put those questions in, or come back to the next live, which will be in about 2 weeks' time, probably around the same time, but I'll update you in my newsletter. That comes out on a Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to that if you aren't already. But I'll let you know the next date there, and get here as close to the start as possible. And they're the ones I start from the top and work my way down. But guys, yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully it's been useful, and I will see you guys again very, very, very soon. All right, cheers everyone.